listening, Kobayashi. Thank you for taking your time for the G10 interview series. It is a great honor to able to have an interview with you today.
What were the biggest challenges? There is a countless number of challenges that we faced. But I would say the biggest challenge, I think, is obviously a funding for the school. 3 weeks after I returned to Japan, financial crisis happened, and we had Japan in a row, and everyone lost billions of money. And our 20 million US dollars became 20,000 US dollars. That was a shocking beginning of this whole journey. And it's, we thought it would take maybe 2 to 3 years to found a school. But in the end, it actually ended up taking 6 years. Actually, 7 years since conception, but 6 years after I returned to Japan. So I'll share some of the stories about this fundraising efforts. Because we lost almost $20 million over 3 weeks, we were at a loss. Well, initially we thought, who else could actually pay $20 million US dollars? So we changed our strategy, just to what you described. We said, so we can't find anyone who can donate 20 million in one go. But how about we start gathering, more people, hundreds of people to support our school. And this idea came through during our summer school in 2010. In 2010, because we had no success in fundraising for the first 2 years, there was nothing else that we could do but to run a small summer school in 2010. And that summer school was a game changer. In startup world, entrepreneur world, we often talk about a rule of thumb that goes early, small success. So no matter how small it is, you have to show success in a very early stage. So this summer school in 2010 became exactly that. So what happened was that the mother of the first cohort, one of the students in its first cohort in 2010, she came up to us and said, you know what, this whole two weeks changed my son's life, and and then I know that you can't build a school because you don't have 20 million, and I personally don't have 20 million to offer, but here's my $100,000. And we were like, wow, an individual donating $100,000, like 1,000,000 yen. Oh, then maybe if we get 100 founders, and those are the people who we call founders these days. And if you can get together here, if you can get 100 people to each contribute $100,000, then we're almost 10 million US dollars. So that took off, after first summer school in 2010, maybe in the next following 6-7 months, we were actually able to get about $1 million from 10 people. So we were like, wow, well, we're almost there, right? Because if you can get 10 people to contribute $1 million in total, then if each of those 10 people can then gather 10 friends, that would be 100 people. We're like, oh, that's going to be easy. So we got together on Hiramatsuri Day, March 3rd, and 2011, following year, with these 10 people. And we had each of them write 10 names of their friends who might be able to support us in that sort of amount. And we had about 70 people. And I called up and I emailed them, and there were about 70 people wanting to meet with me to talk about this exciting project. A week later, March 11 happened. We thought it was over. All the 70 appointments that I had were all gone. Everyone canceled on us. No one wanted to meet with me anymore. Because at that point in time in Japan, there was no one who wanted to learn anything outside of Tohoku. Tohoku was the number one priority for the country. Yeah, so we were at a loss again. But life is interesting. We persisted, and we said, we have to somehow continue our journey. And with the initial $1 million, we and hosted our second summer school in 2011, in the summer of 2011. And despite all the Fukushima, accidents and everything, we were successful in hosting the second summer school. And that summer school changed everything. Because of the Fukushima and March 11, there's a lot of attention in the media around leadership or international understanding, global outreach, and a lot of media came to broadcast our second summer school in 2011, and the following year we were actually able to get over 10 million US dollars. So that was our journey, and we were able to get 100 founders who each donated 100,000 US dollars or more, 1,000 man each or more, and those are the people whose names you see on the silver plaque, in the entrance of Asama building, and in order to meet with those 100 people, 2,500, maybe nearly 3,000 people were the people we approached to raise funds for the school. And only 100 out of that 2,000 to 3,000 people said yes. They bet it on our dream. And those are the people, again, on the silver plaque, who we all owe it. Really, all of us really owe it to those 100 people who we are today. It was how the school has changed ever since then. Obviously, the biggest change that did happen was for us to become a part of United World College Network, UWC. And I am a product of UWC myself. I was a scholarship student at Pearson College, UWC, in 91 to 93, before you were born, maybe. And that was obviously the biggest change. But what has not changed is the student autonomy. I think this school is still very new, and it's never perfect, and it will never be perfect. I don't want to pretend that we are perfect at all, and because we're not perfect, because we're new, because we're still growing and evolving, we love our students and faculty and staff and everyone in the community to give us your honest feedback, and not only to give us feedback, but also come up with a solution or a prototype of a solution yourselves, and so that we can together make improvements in our school community. And to your point about our inaugural class, in a class of 2017, our first class, they lived that mission. They never took anything for granted. They never thought anything was like set in stone. They thought everything was changeable to their benefit. And I hope that spirit is still there. Oftentimes, if you look at a society, a lot of adults sit back and complain, or they sit back and pretend that they don't see those problems. Instead, a handful or a small group of people would identify areas for improvement. They ideate solutions, they prototype their solutions, and then whether they succeed or not, they try. They give it a try. And I hope that's something that we can continue to do as a school community. So that's why I'm very much looking forward to coming to the student assembly next Wednesday. And I know Mr. Jameson is very thrilled to have more student interaction as well. So so I think what has changed since 2014, and the biggest change has been, again, joining the UWC movement. And what has not changed, and what I don't want ever to change, is our spirit that we're all in this together, and we are here to constantly improve the school. And how can students support the school community? When we talk about change makers or transformational leaders in our mission, it doesn't have to be something audacious. I think we can start from ourselves or our immediate community. And the important thing is for us to, whenever we identify an area of improvement or an area for, I don't know, for constructive feedback, instead of sitting back and complaining, can we take an action? And that can start from anything, from again, to cleaning your dormitory, or your residential house, your rooms, to maybe I think there was a question about cafeteria food, for example. And so those questions, instead of asking me or asking the school, can students take an action and create a venue where students and Caesar's Kitchen people can sit down and discuss how you can improve cafeteria food, just as an example. So I think to your question, how can students support the community? I think that's really it. If every student can constantly think about, so how would we want the school to be, and what can we do to make that happen? Instead of asking school to do what do you want the school to do, we are in this together. And some of the things, I have to admit that some of the things are maybe out of your control, or you may not be the decision maker on a certain aspects of the school, but still you can initiate changes by talking to people who are making those decisions, or creating a venue where we can talk about those decisions or improvements. So I think, if the students can join us in making improvements for the school, I think that would be the most important support that I would love to ask my students.
Thank you so much. Those were very helpful answers, and had a lot to learn from your answers. Thank you so much. We will try to improve ISAK.